Welcome into Simply the Bets, brought to you by the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Glenn Clark, Paul Valley with you as we get you ready for a week that's maybe doesn't have the major events that we've been used to in the last couple of weeks, but I got a lot of things that are on my mind. Want to learn more about betting certain sports, want to learn more about how to start thinking ahead as we are only a couple of weeks away from the start of March Madness, so I want to start putting that in focus on this week's episode of Simply the Bets. Coming up in a bit, we'll catch up with our buddy Aaron Oster from VSiN, get his 5 L's for sports betting this week. But before we do that, we always chat with our next guest on Simply the Bets. He is, of course, the general manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. He's our friend Bruce Bilek. Bruce, what's going on, brother?
Glenn, good morning. How you doing today?
I'm all right. I learned better. Look, I'm not fully off the Cole patrol. I'll continue to ride my guy Cole Custer in future races, but he really let me down in Sunday's Daytona 500, and I have not forgiven him because of that. Combining that with I came like 3 points off the number. I bet the under in the All-Star game.
That's a tough one.
It's
that was a
real tragic Sunday.
Tough loss there.
Yeah, tragic Sunday for me, Bruce. Real tragic Sunday. But new week, new me, lots of new opportunities. Bruce, I just alluded to, I want to start looking ahead, and I want to start thinking about because we're in that time of the year where college basketball tournaments, like the conference tournaments, actually get underway next week. And then obviously the following week is the big weekend for college tournaments and Selection Sunday. And then we're into the first weekend of March Madness, which is, such a massive time in the world of sports betting. I want to start laying out what should we be thinking about in terms of betting college basketball, betting conference tournaments, and then we'll look ahead to March Madness and all that. But, Bruce, what is that going to look like? For people that are coming down this weekend, do they have the ability to start thinking about how they might bet conference tournament? What is available? We know the games themselves that are being played will be available for them to bet. What more is there that's available for sports betting consumption and for fans over the course of the next couple of weeks during conference basketball tournament season?
Yeah, we obviously have the major conferences closing out their season over the next week, but as you said, most of the smaller conferences tournaments kick off early next week. I'll tell you what, this is my favorite time of year. I know March, everybody looks towards the tournament, but I actually think these first 2 weeks leading into the tournament are actually, the best 2 weeks of college basketball. You've got so many small, colleges trying to get into the tournament. You got all these Cinderella stories, and it's nonstop basketball action. Starting on Monday, you'll probably have nonstop basketball action all day long, starting at noon during the day all the way through the evening. For the next 2 weeks as we head into the tournament. So it's an exciting time of year. And our customers have a ton of options right now. We always talk about, Glenn, finding value, those type of things. You can get in early and bet on who's going to win their conference tournament. A lot of times there's some heavy favorites in those tournaments that if you get those prices early prior to the tournament, you could potentially set yourself up for a nice little payout towards the end of the tournament, the conference tournament. There's some very handsome prices right now on, teams to make the Final Four. Currently you can get, teams that are slated to be 1 or 2 seeds. Kansas is 3-1 to make the Final Four.
Wow.
You got Duke 3-1 to make the Final Four. Texas Tech, they've been playing some really great basketball, 5-1 right now to make the Final Four. So there are some options to make some money.
And again, as we talk about constantly, if you're going to think about betting it when you get closer, you're not going to get numbers like that when you get closer. You've got to bet it now in order to get those really juicy, appealing numbers.
Yep. Yeah, you and I talked about that a little bit with the Super Bowl too. There were some options prior to, the conference championship starting, which you could get some of those teams at plus money, if you felt they were going to get to the Super Bowl. So it's very similar. A lot of professional, bettors do try to get on that side of the game where they can get a healthier price prior to the tournament starting, to figure out who are the main, competitors that could potentially win that thing and, set themselves up for a nice payout.
We're not going to talk about how sad it is that North Texas has odds to make the Final Four and Maryland doesn't, though. We're just not going to talk about that because it's very depressing for all of us that are here. Of course, we understand the reality of the circumstances. But Bruce, I think the important part is if you get to the FanDuel Sportsbook in the coming weeks, you can literally make days of it, just hanging out, watching basketball. I think people talk constantly about the experience of going to Vegas for the NCAA tournament, right? Like, they're like, man, you got to do it. And it dawned on me now that we have this option in Maryland, you don't have to go to Vegas. The thing that they're talking about that makes it so great, you can do right here now, which is park yourself in the FanDuel Sportsbook all day long, make your bets, ride out every game, feel the highs and the lows of it. No offense to Vegas, but it's already sweaty and hot out there at this time of year. Like, there's no beach there. You can literally do all of those same things right here in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel.
Yeah, absolutely. This was kind of a holiday event for most guys to head out to Vegas this time of year. But with legislation passing years ago, and sports betting now available here in Maryland, we have a group of guys that actually have reserved some seats for the first 2 days of the tournament, because they used to go out to Vegas every year, and they're like, why should you do that? We've got a beautiful sports book here with a 100-foot video wall, comfortable seating, food, drinks, cocktails, everything you need to enjoy, the madness of March. So, people are excited. I think it's going to be a packed house, just like it was for the Super Bowl. But I think people are excited. This is kind of the first year where we're out of that COVID situation, and people are really, really excited about getting back to doing some of the things we used to do in the past. And not only does the NCAA tournament start on that first Thursday, but that's also St. Patty's Day, so it's going to be a big day.
All right, he is Bruce Bilek. He's the general manager of the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Bruce, let's talk about some other things. Like, we've had all these big events. We've had the Super Bowl. We've had all these things. Let's just, pretend I'm a 4-year-old, right? And this is ironic because you and I are doing the Sports Betting 101 series, which you guys will be seeing more and more of. But let's just say, for example, I want to come in this weekend and bet on a hockey game, right? Like, I want to come in, hang out. I got nothing else going on a Saturday night. I want to hang out in the FanDuel Sportsbook, and I want to bet hockey. I've never done that before. Let's just pretend, right? Yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I've never done that before, Bruce. What is it that I should know about betting hockey, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the key thing to know is there's many different ways you can wager on a hockey game. We do have who's going to win the game. You have the spread, which is going to be, puck line, which is, -1.5 or +1.5 either team. You have a total, which is the combined points in the game. So, if the Avalanche are playing the Wings tonight and it's 4-3, the total's set at 6.5. So if you take that over 6.5 and it's a 4-3 final, you win that match as on the over. We have player goals, player points, player assists, player shots. You can bet on the first period. So again, we talk about it all the time. FanDuel does an amazing job of giving tons of markets and opportunities for the customers to bet on different things. We understand that not everybody wants to bet on the traditional just side and total. So we really try to make sure that our customers have plenty of markets to wager on.
No doubt about it. No doubt. What about, Champions League's been going on. Yesterday there was the great story of Lille. I know they came up short, but Champions League matches this afternoon. Again, for people that have never bet soccer, what do they need to know? Again, like, I'm a 4-year-old. What do they need to know about going in and betting on a soccer match, say, this afternoon?
Yeah, so we have a ton of customers that come and bet on soccer. We had some nice action on the games yesterday. Again, I think the major thing I would point out is just if you're unsure, ask one of the supervisors, ask one of the tellers. We have plenty of staff in the sports book able to help you. We can assist you on the kiosks. We have 51 self-serve kiosks throughout the casino. We have 10 teller windows where someone can assist you personally too as well. So we're always open to help. We're always open to kind of explaining the different types of markets. There are some, confusing wagers that could potentially be, confusing to some of the customers. So again, I think the best advice is to ask one of us, and we're here to help you guys out.
I have a story about this. It doesn't matter. Like this, it won't matter this afternoon because it's not a knockout round game that, like, say, Atletico Madrid and Man U are playing this afternoon. But one year I was betting a match in the Euro, and I bet a win bet on Italy, and they won 2-0. And I was like, man, I'm so excited. I won this, right? Like, I'm a big winner. Because this was in a different state where betting was legal at the time. I want to make that very clear. I'm a big winner. And then I went and I checked, and I saw that I had lost. And I was like, what the hell? What do you mean I lost? I did not know that a win bet was graded out at the end of 90 minutes.
End of 90 minutes, yeah.
And
so
extra time was where Italy scored twice in order to win. And so I said, damn it. I am not a winner. I am not happy about this revelation. That's the type of thing I think people should know about.
Yeah, and again, I think that's a great point. This is where it comes into, we're here to help and educate our customers on some of this. We have the house rules that are available in the kiosk too as well. So you can kind of, if you're looking at certain wagers, you can scroll through the house rules too as well to check to see, how that wager will be graded based on the type of wager you're making. So we do have those things readily available, and again, we're here to assist any of our customers.
And again, not an issue today if you're going to bet, because these are not knockout round matches, but just something that impacted your friend Glenn that he wanted to pass along in the knowledge that he can offer. All right, give me something. Give me something that you've looked at and you've been like, man, this kind of looks a little interesting to me. Anything at all, any sport, anywhere, just a number that jumps out at you that you've seen pop up over the last couple of days, today, something like that you're like, wow, this is one that I'm paying attention to right now.
Yeah, I brought it up a little bit earlier, but, I'm starting to look at some of the outrights for the 2022 men's basketball championship, and there's some intriguing lines. Gonzaga's playing really great basketball. They're 4-1 currently, so I think they're a team that's could potentially dominate the tournament, get a run all the way to the championship game. 4-1 odds isn't too bad. So I think that's a great one. And again, another basketball team I keep talking about that's playing extremely good basketball is Texas Tech. They're 25-1 currently. So, there are some options out there that, you can spread your money around on some of these teams and be sitting pretty well when it comes to Final Four weekend.
That's a great point, right? You put in maybe 4 bets, pick your teams, and you have 2 of them hit. You could end up cashing out really well when it comes to Final Four bets. All right, Bruce Bilek, anything else people should know about coming down to the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in the course of the next few days?
Yeah, I think one big thing, too, is just, our live betting. I think a lot of our customers are still getting to know that. You and I talked about this. I'm a big tennis guy, so obviously I'm watching the Dubai tournament. We just had Djokovic beat Khachanov here.
Yep.
You got Vesely and Bautista Agut playing right now. So, I think our customers just, any sport you're betting, whether it be tennis, basketball, football, hockey, whatever it may be, just understand we do have live wagering. So, live wagering could potentially give you some really good odds once that game starts and things start, unfolding for the matches. There's some potential value options there for you to pick up some decent money on live betting.
All right, you want to be down there. And as we always talk about, speaking of that tennis, reminder that the kiosks, the 51 self-service kiosks are open 24/7. So no matter when or where the event is going on, if it's on the other side of the planet, no problem. You can bet on it in the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino Hotel. Hang out, watch, get your bets in, whether it's happening this afternoon like a soccer match tonight or whether it's overnight, early in the morning, wherever it is, you are able to bet on it in the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Bruce Bilek, always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us. Let's talk again next week, all right?
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Glenn.
Bruce Bilek, General Manager of the Fanduel Sportsbook down there at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. I'm thinking, and again, I'm going to make you wait and sweat it out until tomorrow and the social media videos. And I know if you rode with me last week, you're probably not feeling great about it. It happens. I could not have done better when it came to Super Bowl props. Massive week for Super Bowl props. So I earned a week where I struggled. I got a futures bet, a college basketball futures bet that I'm leaning into. And the only hint I'll give you is that maybe if you were watching last night, you don't feel as good about them as you did before. But I do. I feel really good about them for a couple of very specific reasons. And I'm going to tell you more about them on Live Casino and Hotel Maryland's social media platforms tomorrow. But you're going to have to wait for that. I can't give it away to you yet. I'm thinking about a futures bet related to college basketball and I'm feeling a way about somebody, and we'll be talking about that in the coming days. It is Simply the Bets, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. And since we're talking about college basketball, I want to point out to you that in the new print issue of PressBox, which is available at your neighborhood Royal Farms or any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox, you can find Jeremy Kahn's March Madness betting tips. They're right there. So if you're someone who's never experienced this before, the thing that we're talking about, I've done the Vegas thing for the NCAA tournament. I've been. I get it. It's great. It's wonderful. I mean, everybody told me for years I needed to experience, and I'm so glad that I did. What I'm really glad about is that I don't have to go to Vegas. No offense. You're there to watch the college basketball. The advantages of being in Vegas are like, well, you could go to a show at night. I don't want to go to a show at night. I want to watch college basketball at night. There's no advantage any longer to going out to Vegas at the start of the NCAA tournament. You can do it right here at Live Casino and Hotel in the Fanduel Sportsbook. But if you've never experienced that feeling of all-day live in-game betting, that college basketball experience, then I would really encourage you to go pick up this print issue of PressBox, and you see that's Gary Williams right there on the cover, the celebration of the 20th anniversary of Maryland's national championship. That's what we're doing. And again, go inside, and you will find Jeremy Kahn's advice, his tips on betting March Madness. It's also available if you go to PressBoxOnline.com. You can click on the print tab, and you can find it there. If you can't get out and pick up your print issue of PressBox, which again, PressBox, I talk for a living, believe it or not, which is available right now. So really encourage you to do that. When we come back in here on Simply the Bets, we're going to catch up with our buddy Aaron Oster from VSiN. We are going to get some thoughts from him about some bets that you should be making right now. His 5 L's, a bet he loves, a bet he thinks is a loser, a bet that's a long-term, long shot, all those things. We'll do that next. It's Simply the Bets, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel Maryland and the Fanduel Sportsbook. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The newest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le
champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Stay tuned. Your chance to win $1 million is coming up. Probably not from us. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on Simply the Bets, which is brought to you by the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. And a quick reminder to all of you that if you haven't been down yet, you can still win your share of $10,000. Yeah, $10,000 just by signing up for Live Rewards. New Live Rewards members can also receive up $20 in free play just by signing up. Sign up by March 31st because the cash drawings are on April 1st. Win your share of $10,000 cash just by signing up for Live Rewards. Of course, if you haven't been to the FanDuel Sportsbook yet, you're missing out. They got the massive 100-foot media wall, the 47-foot big screen, 40 HD TVs, and more for the ultimate sports viewing experience. Pretty good week for our buddy Aaron last Wednesday. After it had been a bit shaky, he bounced back with a couple of big winners for us. Let's see if he's got some more from VSiN out in Las Vegas. He is our friend Aaron Oster, and he's back with us now here on Simply the Bets. What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing well, trying to dive into college basketball, and I'm really hoping soon we get some of those Selection Sunday props to come out, because last year those were some of the best bets you could find. The markets are incredibly soft, so I'm just hoping in the next week we see this start to drop.
So when you talk about Selection Sunday props, you're talking about like a certain team to be a certain seed, or those are the types of things that you're betting on.
Yeah, well, to make the tournament over-under on seeds. I remember last year, I can't remember which team it was exactly, but we were about around this time, 2.5 weeks out from Selection Sunday, and it was a team that was right on the bubble and probably on the right side of the bubble, and for whatever reason, it was just pretty much across the board at multiple sportsbooks was at plus 400. So sometimes, especially with bets like that, where it's just kind of strictly based on info as much as anything else, the bettor has a rare opportunity to get an advantage over the sports book. And so sometimes these Selection Sunday props can be really, really profitable.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for those, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about them in the coming 2 weeks ahead of Selection Sunday. But we still have time for that. Right now, we need to get into our 5 L's of sports betting for the week. And, Aaron, let's begin. Give me something local that you got your eye on.
Well, this isn't a team that only I have my eye on. It seems like they're starting to get national buzz just all over the place, and that's Towson.
Yep.
Towson's a team that's obviously on a great roll here, is blowing out teams, is really getting on the national radar to the point where Jim Root over at Three-Man Weave, a frequent guest we have on VSiN, is talking about them as a mid-major team that, you know, if they win the conference tournament, you need to watch for them to make some noise in the tournament. So I'm looking at Towson as well, and it just so happens that they're playing a pretty lousy James Madison team at home tonight. They are an 8.5-point favorite, and as I mentioned, they've been on fire lately. They've obviously their last 2 home games, they beat William and Mary by 15. They beat Elon by 36 at home, and even throw in that 24-point win over UNC Wilmington on the road. Obviously, a little bit of a closer game against Charleston, but Charleston's actually a pretty good team, and again, that was on the road. So I know the laying the big numbers have burned me on this show a couple times.
Yes, they have.
It has. I think 8.5 is still a pretty decent number, though. So give me Towson minus 8.5 versus James Madison.
The only thing that's weird about this is that we're this deep into the season, and Towson hasn't played Madison this year just because of the nature of COVID and games being rescheduled. So they're going to play back-to-back games against Madison this week, which is very weird. So, we don't really have that to fall back on to give us more of an idea of how the teams match up. But in general, yes, the way that Towson's playing, their balance, all of those things, the fact that they've had a few days since they played, I probably tend to agree with you that it is a number that I'm comfortable with, especially in bet. I feel like Towson's going to be up by a few possessions, and if you add in fouling at the end of the game, I think there's a very good chance they end up
Towson's been really good to bettors this year as well. They're 19-9 against the spread.
Ooh, that is a juicy little tidbit there, sir. 19-9 against the spread. That's almost as good as their actual record. That's really amazing. All right, Aaron. Next up, give me let's do a long-term bet. Let's do a futures bet that you like this week.
This is what I was going through. I was having trouble finding one I really liked. It seems like most of the markets have kind of caught up to March Madness, so I didn't look there. And so I was looking towards the NBA and just kind of some of the models there, and there's one bet out there.
By the way, not feeling as great about my son's bet now that Chris Paul got hurt. So thanks a lot, a-hole.
Yeah, that one wasn't great. Yeah. But, hopefully he'll be back. It doesn't really matter what they do in the regular season.
I agree.
What they do in the playoffs.
Exactly right. They're still loaded, by the way. Like it just made me. I had a whimper. I had a whimper as a fan. I was like, oh no. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Absolutely. There's one bet where if you just kind of look at the analytics models, which I know aren't everything, but there's something to look at. It's something to compare to. There's one team that seems to be completely polar opposites from the models and the odds, and that's the Boston Celtics. Right now, they're 11-1 to win the Eastern Conference. Meanwhile, you look at ESPN's BPI or 538's various models. They actually have the Celtics as the favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference, as high as potentially what should be 2-1 on real probability there. And I'm not necessarily as high on the Celtics as these models are, but I do see where this could be. Obviously, the Celtics have been banged up all season, and recently they've really started to round up into a real defensive presence on the floor. So for me, when I'm looking at these long-term bets, I'm looking for value as much as whether or not it'll actually come home. And I understand actually why this could be why it is. Simply, the Celtics aren't a sexy team. They're not the Nets. They're not the 76ers.
Right. They don't have the overwhelming superstars that some of these other teams do.
Everyone is hammering these other teams. And meanwhile, it might be the Celtics that are actually the best value bet, especially at 11-1. And this has actually dropped in the past week. You could have gotten them as high as 20-1 as recently as about a week ago. They're down to 11-1 now, and I still think there's value there. So if you're looking for a long-term ticket to hold that, maybe you can hedge off in the semifinals of the Eastern Conference or even the conference finals if they can get there. The Celtics are there, and as they continue to move up, once they get out of the play-in situation, which they are right now, they are the 6th seed. Anything can really happen there. So I think that 11-1 bet's really nice for the Celtics.
11-1 for the Celtics to win the Eastern Conference. Reminder, we're only 2 years removed from Miami winning the East, and I get it. That was a bizarre scenario where they were in the bubble and all that. Like, I get that, things were a bit different during the course of that season, but, I don't know that it's a sure thing. I'm probably still defaulting to one of these teams is Giannis and the rest of them don't, and so until proven otherwise, I'm just going to bet on them, and that's still a pretty good number, by the way. Like, you're still sitting at plus money in order to get the bet on the Bucks to win the East, but I hear exactly what you're saying, and certainly they have enough there. There are enough pieces, and all of these other teams have been such crapshoots all season long. The Eastern Conference, like, you wake up one day and you look at it and you're like, all of these teams are within 3 games of each other. No one has gotten any separation. So I completely understand what you're talking about and why this could be a weird year in which someone like the Celtics, who are just balanced, right, like who just sort of have a little bit of everything, could maybe make a run and break through and somehow win the East.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what this is that it's almost, to me, it's one thing I wouldn't mind doing, I'm actually thinking about doing myself, is honestly just saying, yeah, these teams have the stars, but really it's these balance. It's the Heat and the Celtics, I think, that are the good bets right now. Maybe play both of them. The Heat are 5-1 right now. Celtics are 11-1. They're kind of fading the trendy, popular teams and getting 2 really solid teams, including possibly the number 1 seed in the conference in the Heat. And you're still getting, really good value in just taking both of them.
All right, that's an interesting bet. Now let's go with something that's a little bit. I mean, again, this actually kind of almost fit. It's the second time you've done this where, like, your long-term bet could almost fit a long shot bet as well. But give me something else. Give me a long shot bet, an underdog that you're loving.
I'm going much bigger in my long shot here. And, this is a funny time for gamblers. Obviously this weekend and up until Thursday, there's no NBA to bet as far as the games. There is college basketball, but that's kind of the big thing. Football's a ways away. You don't have these, a lot of your college basketball futures are already in. So you're kind of looking for something to bet. And one thing that's honestly fun to bet is golf. I'm really enjoying. I've been betting golf the past few weekends. I hit on a group bet play this past weekend. And so I'm looking at the Honda Classic, and there's one that one player that I'm looking at, and that's Keith Mitchell. So Keith Mitchell,
the former San Francisco Giant Keith Mitchell is a golfer now?
It's amazing,
that
right?
is breaking news. I wish somebody would have told me that. It was Kevin Mitchell. Damn it. I screwed that up. Damn it.
Yeah.
Damn it. Damn it. I feel like there was a
Womp womp.
Keith Mitchell before, though. I feel like there was another Keith Mitchell. I'll look into that. You tell me about this guy.
He's a 30-year-old. He's been around the tour for a few years. He has one win, and I'll get back to that one win in a second here. But he's actually really been on fire lately. He's finished in the top 12 for the past 5 events. He's coming off of a top 10 finish at the Waste Management, and the one PGA Tour win came 3 years ago at the Honda Classic at PGA National. And right now he's 35 to 1. And I think, that's actually a pretty good bet for a guy who's familiar, a guy who really plays this course well. It's on Bermuda grass. And you can do a lot of fun things with golf here. I like to at least sprinkle on a long shot like this to win at 35 to 1. But if you can't stomach that, it's plus 450 to finish top 10, even better to finish top 5. And in a situation where it's not the most loaded field, Sung Jae In's the favorite right now to win the tournament. You can come through with a lot of these long shots. So Keith Mitchell to win the Honda Classic, 35 to 1.
35 to 1 to win the Honda Classic. And by the way, the other Keith Mitchell was a linebacker for the Saints, was the guy that I was thinking of. Keith Mitchell, only career victory was the 2019 Honda Classic. He beat out Ricky Fowler and Brooks Koepka. I've heard of those fellers. In order to win said event. That is an interesting one. I will give you that. Aaron Oster is with us from VSiN out in Las Vegas. We're getting our 5 L's of sports betting this week. Let's move on. Here on Simply the Bets, that is. Let's move on to something that you look at and you just say, no, that is a loser. And I still hate you for the one that you got completely right last week. I just want you to know that. You were 100% right about it, but I still hate you because of it. That was, of course, telling us to avoid the U.S. women last week, that they were absolutely going to be a loser against Canada, and sadly, he was correct.
So this one is one, I went to the futures market for this one, and there's one odds that outside of maybe just sheer simple liability, I don't understand it at all. The odds are wrong, and it's a future bet that, like I gave you Purdue once, and that was simply because I think the odds are off, and while anything can happen in the NCAA tournament, I don't really believe that this will happen. There's no way this bet can come through, and that's Draymond Green right now is the second favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year at plus 300. Draymond Green can't win Defensive Player of the Year. He's missed 25 games. Short of, every other contender missing the rest of the season, like they're not giving the award to Draymond Green. Voters are going to remember the fact that he's missed literally close to a third of the season. That's assuming he plays every game going forward. And plus 300 is bad value. It's a bad bet. If you're looking at these awards and you want to bet it and you don't want to just bet the favorite, you might be looking at some of these second favorites. Please, please, please don't bet Draymond Green to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Very interesting. You don't think this is just sort of like a reputational thing where like some of the people that vote for Defensive Player of the Year are just not paying that much of attention?
Like, I would like to hope that they're paying closer attention than to give someone who's missed 25 games the award.
I get it. I get it.
Like, I do agree that to some extent this award is a reputational award, which is why he was so, heavily juiced at the beginning. But at this point, like, it can't happen. It really can't.
I hear you. And by the way, for what it's worth, I hope you're right, right? Like, not only because you're giving this advice here on Simply the Bets, but just because in practicality, I don't want it to be the case that someone can miss that much of the season and still win an award like that. That type of award, I really do worry about that. I really do worry that at the end of the day, it's just we know he's really good at defense. So, hell, he was Defensive Player of the Year because it's just very difficult for anyone else to stand out. I know Rudy Gobert is very much in that category and might default to being the winner just because of it. But, like, unlike MVP where somebody's got to average 30 points a game, like, it's more difficult to use a stat to determine who the Defensive Player of the Year should be. It's much easier to just sort of say, this is the guy that has the reputation of being the best defensive player in basketball.
Yeah, I would hope that they just give it to, because Rudy Gobert is getting all that buzz as well.
Yep.
By the way, Jaren Jackson Jr., he's, I believe, plus 950 right now.
Yep.
If you're looking for a bet, that might be a play because to all the analytics people, he's having a not just a career year, but like an all-time year defensively.
All right, very good. And then finally, give me for this week a bet that you absolutely love.
So once we get to this point in the college basketball season, you kind of start looking a little bit at motivation as well as anything. And, of course, that could mean a team that's really desperate to get a big win, to try to put themselves in tournament position, or a team that's packed it in. And right now there's two teams that I've kind of started to fade when it comes to packing it because I feel they packed it in. One's Georgetown. You know, we know how bad Georgetown
Are you betting DePaul? Is that what you're telling me to do? Are you betting DePaul?
I'm not saying that. I'm going to another team that
All
I started to fade.
Holy hell. What a world we're living in these days.
I have bet DePaul against Georgetown before.
Oh, my.
Yeah. But the other team that I've started to fade because I believe that the team has largely packed it in is West Virginia.
Okay.
West Virginia is 0-4 against the spread their last 4 games. They're 2-8 in their last 10. I love Bob Huggins. I think he's a fantastic coach. I'm kind of surprised that it's gotten to this point, but it really seems like the players and even Huggins, when you kind of listen to some of his post game, they kind of know this is over. They're just looking forward to the season being over and just kind of getting out and relaxing. So Iowa State is facing West Virginia. They are a 5-point favorite. And like I said, I'm not that high on Iowa State, honestly, but this is just a straight fade of West Virginia. Give me Iowa State -5.
Man, I get it. I do get it. Trust me. I completely understand that. And that's the way it would go. I feel like we would have said the same thing about Maryland a couple games ago, but look at what's happened over the last week and a half. So maybe we don't feel that way any longer. I'm not quite sure. Although I'm not ready to tell you I'm betting them against Ohio State on Sunday either. I'm not ready to tell you I'm doing that either. All right, so those are our 5 L's for the week. And you can we will tweet them out as well at Glenn Clark Radio if you happen to miss any of them. Some bets that Aaron has thrown out there. Aaron, you want to remind everybody about what's going on with VSiN?
Yeah, check out VSiN, VSiN.com. Of course, we have lots of March Madness deals. Check that out on the website. And you can, out in Maryland, check out VSiN on Masson. Follow the Money and the Lombardi line. You can find those programmings as well as if you have Xfinity, check out VSiN on the Xfinity app.
Will you even walk outside? Will you see sunlight once conference tournament gets underway? Will you see sunlight for the better part of 4 weeks?
Well, here's the funny thing. Conference tournaments, there's 5 different conference tournaments in the greater Las Vegas area.
And that's true.
So as far as to see sunlight, I mean, actually, it's great. There's a new arena being built literally 2 miles down the street from my house. It's going to be the new hockey arena for the Underson Silver Knights.
Why wouldn't there be another arena? We've struggled to keep one in Baltimore. In Las Vegas, they're going to have 7.
Yeah, but the Big West tournament is there, so I'm probably going to check that out. And, of course, the Mountain West tournament, which might actually be the most entertaining tournament of conference play because there's 6 or 7 teams that could conceivably win it in the Mountain West. So as far as to see the sunlight, driving between arenas to see all these games.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
I'll see the sunlight there.
That's what you got to do. All right, very good. At the A Oster on Twitter is how you follow him. Aaron, appreciate it, pal. We will talk to you again next week, all right?
Talk to you next week.
Aaron Oster, Simply the Bets. He's joining us from out in Vegas at VSiN with his 5 L's for the week. All right, as we wind down on this week's edition of Simply the Bets, we'll get a tidbit of the week. Paul Valley has pulled up something that we think is of interest. What did you find this week, Paul? Yeah.
All right, so eventually I want to start giving you bets that I think are ridiculous, but I'm still familiarizing myself with all of that lingo. So I have 2 bets that were placed in the past week that paid out or didn't pay out. One, a better at Points Better USA bet $10,000 that Novak Djokovic would beat Lorenzo Musetti in Dubai the other day. Djokovic won.
Djokovic.
I'm sorry, Djokovic.
Yes.
Sorry, no, I was combining his first and last name.
That happens. I've done that.
Djokovic won 6-3, 6-3. The $10,000 bet netted the better $100.
Yeah, that's rough. And as a tennis bettor, I said before, I think that there are inequities sometimes where you can just take money that they're willing to give you by doing some of these things, but there's just no world in which that's something that I would ever. That's insane.
Unless you're trying to clean your money.
Right, sure. I guess that's the case. I would never in a million years do something like that. Now, I have I've probably gone as high as plus 1,000. I'm trying to think of. It's not as if I haven't bet heavy favorites just to win, and have been willing to put $100 down and take $10 or something like that because I'm that confident in it. But there is always the chance. What I constantly describe to somebody is, specifically with tennis betting, what you're really betting is that this person's not getting hurt. What you're really betting is that whoever it is, Daniil Medvedev, is not getting hurt during the course of the match. Because if he doesn't get hurt, he ain't losing. It's not nearly the same way on the women's side. There is not the same disparity between the top players. There's far more of a chance that a top female player could lose to another player. And Musetti, by the way, is a decent player. I make that very clear. This isn't even like a first-round Australian Open type of competitor. But there's a limit to what I'm willing to do when it comes to that, just because at some point there is absolutely no reason to take a risk like that. I can't fathom why you'd be taking that type of risk.
And then another bet that I saw, a better live bet, $125,000 at DraftKings on 3 golfers to win last week's Genesis Open. $25,000 on Cameron Tringale, 80-1 to win $2 million. $65,000 on Cameron Smith to win $715,000, and $35,000 on Joaquin Niemann to win 28-1. And he would have won $980,000. Neiman led wire to wire in the Genesis Open.
Okay.
So the guy, even though he spent $125,000, he still netted $855K.
That seems like a pretty decent amount of money to be winning on a bet. I had a message from Chris. Chris said, Glenn, have you seen that Evan Neal has now become the new favorite to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft? I did see that, Chris. I did see that. I remember Aaron telling us a couple weeks ago that he liked the idea of betting a quarterback, and I get that. I think at this point, I just don't think it's happening. I don't think anybody's moving up to 1 to get a quarterback. But if you still think that someone like an Aiden Hutchinson, a Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be such a warrior that the Jaguars can't pass on that guy, and I think people don't feel particularly strong about Thibodeau anymore, I'd listen to it. There's not great value on Hutchinson. It's only sitting at 2-1 right now, but he's no longer the favorite. Evan Neal has usurped him as the favorite. I do think that the Cam Robinson situation would be interesting, right? Like if the Jaguars tag Cam Robinson, if they don't tag him, all of a sudden, I think you feel really strongly about Evan Neal. If they do tag him, I think it makes it more compelling. So that's something that I'll be following here as we gotten into tag season in the NFL as I think about futures bets for the NFL draft. All right. All of these are bets that you can make down in the Fanduel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Walk up, make your bet at any of the 24/7 betting kiosks. The 51 self-service kiosks are dispersed throughout the property. Or visit the personal betting windows to place a bet with a sportsbook representative. And as Bruce Bilek told us a little bit earlier on, if you've never bet a certain sport before, you might want to go do that. Get your questions answered by those representatives, especially if you're betting soccer, something that maybe golf, you don't fully understand exactly how a certain bet works. I would encourage you to go up to the window and find out. And, of course, Live Casino and Hotel salutes our heroes every Wednesday. Receive a special gaming offer. Present your valid military, DOD, police officer, firefighter, or hospital ID and earn up to $30 in free slot play or direct bet. So if you are headed down that way this afternoon or tonight, you can take advantage of that, and we thank you for all of the wonderful things that you do. This has been Simply the Bets, and don't forget to check out Live Casino and Hotel Maryland's social media pages tomorrow, as I'm going to have some thoughts for you about college basketball futures bets. That'll be coming up. May the odds be ever in your favor.